Hi, this is Bishop Craig in Lansing, and this is take one for the week of May 15. Peace be with you. It is the Monday after the Synod Assembly, and I want to thank everyone who had a hand in our Synod Assembly, voting members who were diligent in their work, and our behind the scenes people who do so much that nobody sees, and the people up front, and Chelsea Satterley, who directs the whole thing. Thank you all. Let's see, I was supposed to take today off. The Synod staff were supposed to take today off. I am really, really tired. My mind is really, really tired. And the phone calls are coming today. So I do need to say that our response may be a little slow because we want to respond to you when we're at our best. So, I know you're calling my office with some urgent things, or for you, some really urgent things, but it may be a day or two before we get back to you. So we ask for your patience and for your understanding. Email the same thing. Just give us a moment, please, to catch our breath. We do have a quiet week on the schedule, at least I do. On Tuesday, we have an exit interview with Church of the Savior. I don't know if I've announced that Pastor Nicole Smith has received and accepted a call to Hope in Plainwell. So she is concluding one ministry as she prepares to begin another. And then we have Synod staff, and I think there might be a Conference of Bishops meeting on Thursday. I'll have to check my calendar. I am really excited about the gospel reading for Sunday, June 5. I wish I was preaching because it's become such an important story for me, and I'll tell you why. So a few years ago, there was an ELCA worship conference, and I attended with Pastor Rachel Laughlin and Pastor Rihanna Goodrich. I was my typical self, not seeing well, and Pastor Goodrich was on crutches, and Pastor Laughlin was responsible for us both. And so they had this worship service, communion service, in a big ballroom. And when it came time for the distribution of communion, the distributors went out with big, bright, colorful umbrellas or parasols, and you were supposed to pick a color and go there and receive communion. It was a fun, festive celebration for able-bodied Christians. But if you couldn't see well, or you were on crutches, this was something unnecessarily unmanageable in worship. Once again, the ELCA churchwide organization had met my expectation of either forgetting or being unconcerned that people who live with disabilities might be attending an ELCA event. So we, Pastor Rachel, Pastor Rihanna, and I took a seat by the baptismal font and waited. And soon others for whom this method of distribution was a challenge also joined us. And we began to tease that we were sitting at the baptismal font, which had become the Pool of Bethsaida, waiting for Jesus to come. Eventually, Pastor and Dr. Gordon Lathrop, who taught worship at Philadelphia Seminary for many years and who was the presiding minister, brought us the sacrament. And Gordon, who I've known for years, was really embarrassed, genuinely embarrassed. And I shared perhaps the most pastoral, personal moment I've shared with Dr. Lathrop in all the years I've known him. And we received the sacrament. So this experience changed this story for me, because for able-bodied people, this is all about the man getting to stand up and be normal. I think it's bigger and bolder than that. I have now, when I preach, come to think of people sitting around the baptismal font. They may or may not be, but their presence is a reminder to me that in every assembly there are people waiting. They are waiting for Jesus. And they may be waiting for all sorts of reasons, and nothing we can do can make it right. So the good news is that the time will come when Jesus will come, and that their waiting, our waiting, all of our waiting will end. That's resurrection. So as we contemplate this story for the coming week, we might each ask, we might all ask, what are we waiting for that only Jesus can bring? What are we waiting for that only Jesus can bring? And the good news is that it may feel like 38 years, but Jesus will come, and Jesus will bring what we are waiting for, and our waiting will end. The last thing I would say about this story is it sets up this odd thing where healing is a competitive sport. You know, the first one into the water when it stirs gets to be healed. And how sad that they did that. They made healing a competitive sport. It also seems interesting to me that the way they kind of, ghettoized the disabled and the sick by putting them at this pool with the hope of winning the competition and getting healed. Can you imagine what a sick place that was with all the illnesses there? And Jesus went there. Yeah, Jesus comes. And before I get too far ahead of myself in condemning the biblical story for its competitive nature of healing, we do the same thing. It's just about having money and insurance and access to health care. We don't have the same universal health care for everyone. We've made strides, but we need to get there. So maybe that's one of the things that I'm waiting for Jesus to bring. So my thoughts are with the people of the Upstate New York Synod, especially in Western New York and Buffalo. Some of you know that Kathy and I met in Rochester, not far from Buffalo. Kathy's from Rochester. And so the shooting this weekend at a Tops Friendly Market, which is where I used to shop in my first call in Fairport, New York, Tops Friendly Market, strikes us very close to home. So we are praying, and I continue to think it is important that we do things to control gun violence, like safe storage and background checks. And so I'm thinking about the people in Western New York. I'm thinking about the people of South Dakota who are suffering from storms. And it sounds like the crops have been destroyed. Neighbors are trying to help neighbors plant. And so on your behalf, Pastor Sprang and I authorized a $5,000 gift from our disaster response fund to the people of South Dakota through the South Dakota Synod. And we've already received a thank you from Bishop Constanza that we're going to try to put in an update. This is one of the things our Synod really agrees on, responding to people who are victims of a natural disaster, and we are really glad to help. This is on top of the, I think, $5,000 gift, or close to $5,000 gift that was collected during Lent up to Easter that has been sent to, I think it's Lutheran Disaster Relief or Response to help in Ukraine. So in the last few weeks, we have distributed about $10,000 to people affected by disaster. We thank you for that. And you can always contribute to our disaster response fund at the Synod website. And then finally, I don't want to forget California, where there was a shooting It's the details for me are still sketchy at a Presbyterian church, and I got to tell you that one scares me to death. That even churches like schools cannot be counted upon to be safe. And I know I'll get the question, armed parishioners are not the answer. People who do law enforcement tell us that it's more effective to throw hymnals at a shooter than for someone to take aim. So there is a lot going on in our world this week. We continue to pray for Ukraine. So I would ask you to take some time and pray, and to answer the question, what are we waiting for that only Jesus can bring? I'm Bishop Craig, and this is Take One, and may the peace of Christ be with you always.